of Koshala in the capital city of Ayodhya. King Dasharatha had 3 queens, Kausalya, Sumitra and Kaikeyi. On the advice of his sister Maharshi, King Dasharatha performed Ashwamedha and Pattakami Yajnas with the help of sage Rishishringi Maharshi. After the Yajnas, Dasharatha handed over the prasadam to the queens given by Agni Deva. The twins were conceived after having the prasadam. On the 9th day of Chaitra Masa, at noon, Kausalya gave birth to Ramachandra Prabhu. Sumitra gave birth to Lakshmana and Shatrugna, and Kaikeyi gave birth to Bharata. Since Lord Ramachandra was born on Navami, we celebrated it as Sri Rama Navami. Happy Sri Rama Navami, everyone.
Vishwamitra came to Ayodhya to see the king. Vishwamitra said, "I have come to ask you a favor. I have been trying to perform an important sacred rite, which is again and again being interrupted by demons. My vows prevent me from personally fighting these demons, so I pray to you, Dasharatha, that you allow me to take Rama and help me protect me during my sacred rite." Dasharatha replied, "But Rama is only a child. He is but 16 years of age. I have a better idea. I shall send my armies to fight these demons. I will even accompany you. I shall fight these demons with my own hands. But please, do not take Rama. Without Rama, I cannot even live for a few minutes." But Vishwamitra understood the king's pain, but the sage also had no choice. He knew that Rama was the incarnation of Vishnu on earth. The king told Rama about Vishwamitra's request. Rama understood and willingly went with the sage. "I shall go too, father," declared Lakshmana. The king did not protest. Rama and Lakshmana followed the sage along the Sayuri river bank. The journey was a long one. Wherever the 3 stopped to rest, the sage took the time to teach the boys about how to use the powerful weapons of the gods to fight the demons. They journeyed until they reached the foot of the frightening forest. They paused. The sage said, this was once a beautiful forest and a prosperous country. Now the terrible she-demon Taraka lives here. She attacks and kills anyone who enters. The sage turned to Rama and said, "Now it is up to you to rid the forest of the demons. By doing this, you will restore the land to the prosperity and peace that it once enjoyed." Rama clutched his bow and removed his arrow from his quiver. Rama and Lakshmana followed Vishwamitra into the forest. They heard many strange and frightening noises, and each step they took brought them deeper into the forest. Here is a small story about Ahilya, who was cursed to become a stone. Ahilya was created by Brahma as the most beautiful girl. She was desired by a wife, by all men, creatures, and gods of the world. That is why Brahma took so much pride in his creation. To choose Ahilya's husband, Brahma had a condition. The one who crossed all 3 worlds would be able to take Ahilya's hand in marriage. Indra wanted to make Ahilya his wife, so he used his power to cross all the 3 worlds. But what he did not know was that Gautama had already crossed the 3 worlds. When he saw that Gautama was with Ahilya, he said, "Beware of what your future holds." Indra disguised himself as Gautama in order to be with Ahilya, and because of that, both Ahilya and Indra were cursed. Ahilya, the woman of immeasurable beauty, was converted to stone, but because Ahilya begged for forgiveness, Gautama felt empathy for her and decided to grant Ahilya and Indra a boon. Gautama told his wife that one day she would be able to return to human form, but this would be only accomplished with the touch of Rama's feet. When Rama was on his way to Mithilpuri, his feet finally changed back into human form. Rama and Lakshmana and also with Vishwamitra continued on their journey. Suddenly, there was an unearthly roar. The three men stopped. From nowhere, a huge rock came hurling out of the sky, heading straight for Rama. He slipped an arrow into place and drew his bow. The rock fell into pieces harmlessly onto the earth. Then, appearing between two trees, Rama saw a horrible sight. It was the hideous form of the demoness Taraka. She was enormous. She had a human skull around her neck, and she had sharp claws on her hands. Lakshmana decided to wait no longer. Placing his bow, he wounded the demoness. She said, "Which mortals have wounded me?" Rama tied his arrow, and he suddenly killed Taraka by drawing the arrow into her heart. The three continued their journey deeper into the forest, and along the way, Rama and Lakshmana killed many demons. The sage told Rama, "I am delighted to have you. I shall give you even greater weapons to fight any enemy." He knew that Rama's work was far from being complete. There was still the powerful Ravana that he had to deal with. It was one thing to kill Ravana's demons, but it was another thing to kill Ravana. Hare Krishna.
In order to marry Sita Devi, there was one condition. The prince must be able to pick up and break the bow of Lord Shiva. This condition was placed because in childhood, Sita Devi would sometimes pick up the extremely heavy bow of Lord Shiva. It was Ram's turn to go and try to break the bow. No one had yet broken it. Ram went up and actually broke the bow. In this way, Ram was married to Sita Devi. While Ram was about to be crowned king of Ayodhya, Manthara and Kaikeyi were having a conversation. Manthara convinced Kaikeyi that if Ram became king, he would harm Bharata and Kaikeyi. Manthara told Kaikeyi to use the 2 boons given to her from King Dasharatha for saving his life. Kaikeyi went up to King Dasharatha. She asked for the 2 boons. The first boon she asked was for Bharata to be king instead of Ram. And the second boon she asked for was for Rama to go on an exile to the forest for 14 years. With great grief and pain, King Dasharatha had to accept the 2 boons. King Dasharatha told Ram to leave the kingdom and go to the forest for 14 years. Upon his father's orders, Ram started to leave for Ayodhya. Before Ram was about to leave, King Dasharatha did not want him to go. He felt very, very much sorrow for his leaving. But just before Ram could leave, Lakshman and Sita Devi, as a loyal brother and wife, told that they would join Lord Rama as well. In this way, the 3 of them set for the forest.
As the 3 left the palace, they cast away their royal robes. The people of Ayodhya weeping as Rama and Sita and Lakshmana passed from the city. In time, King Dasharatha lost the will to live. His heart simply gave out. Ayodhya wept and wept of the loss of their king. During the years of exile, when Lord Rama reached the banks of River Ganga, he needed a boat to cross it. He approached the boatman Kevath for his services, but Kevath refused. He said, I have heard that there is magic in the dust of your feet. By the touch of your feet, a stone can change into a woman. He was referring to the previous incident in which Lord Rama removed the curse of Ahalya by touching his foot to a stone which turned into a woman. Kevath laid the condition that first he would wash Rama's feet to remove the dust. Only then he would allow him to sit on the boat. Lord Rama smiled and allowed Kevath to wash his feet. It was Kevath's devotion which made it possible for him to accomplish a feat that even the gods are envy of. After washing the Lord's feet, Kevath ferried them across the river Ganga. As soon as they alighted from the boat, Goddess Sita immediately withdrew a ring from her finger and handed it over to Rama, signaling to him to pass it to the boatman. But Caleb refused to accept it. On asking the reason, Caleb replied, "Lord, how can I accept the money from you because people of the same profession do not charge each other for services?" Lord Rama was surprised with the response. Caleb answered, "Lord, both of us do the same work. I ferry people from this bank to the Ganges of the other. You ferry people across the ocean of samsara through the journey of life. How can I accept payment from you, Lord? But please, as I have made you cross this river today, when my time comes, take me across the ocean of life." After the completion of exile, when Lord Rama returned to Ayodhya, he was crowned king, but as the coronation ceremony in his eyes were looking for some special gift. When Sita asked Rama what he was waiting for, Lord Rama replied that he is missing Keva too much today. Even on the day of extreme happiness, Lord Rama did not forget the good deed done by Keva long time ago.
Hare Krishna. Gohaka asked Lord Ram if he could stay in his house with all of the comforts. But Lord Ram said no because he's promised his father that he's going to stay in the forest for 14 years. You know there's no comforts in the forest.
Good job. Wow. Yeah, so like she did.
Hare Krishna, my name is Om Sandati. Chitrakoot is a town in the state of Madhya Pradesh, India. It is known for cultural, religious, archaeological, and historical importance. There are a number of temples situated in Chitrakoot, as mentioned in Hindu scriptures. Chitrakoot's spiritual legacy stretches back legendary years. It was in these deep forests that Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita spent their years in exile. So after Dasharath after Dasharath died and Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita were sent into exile, Lakshmana was shooting his bow one day and trying to find some game, like what's this like food, like hunting animals, and he heard a lot of marching, and he told Rama, I think it's an army, and there's a lot of marching. I heard a lot of marching, and there is an army. And Rama said, no, that is not the army, that is Bharat, our friend. And Bharat came and told Rama that Dasharath had died, and they were shocked to hear the news. And what Bharat did was, he asked Rama for his sandals and said, give me your sandals, and I will serve for the 14 years in your name. And after the 14 years of exile, if you don't come back, I will walk into a fire and kill myself. The story of Shravan Kumar is very interesting. Shravan Kumar was a very young and strong and intelligent boy. He always obeyed his parents. His parents were old and blind and very weak. They always worshipped God. Shravan lived happily with his parents in a small hut. One night, Shravan woke from his sleep. He heard his mother whispering and came to know that she wanted to go on a pilgrimage. But his father said, how can we go on a pilgrimage when we are so weak and blind? In return, Shravan's mother said, don't worry if we cannot go because it must be according to God's wish. After hearing this, Shravan took pity and wanted them to take them on a pilgrimage. He took a large branch from a tree and tied 2 baskets to it so his parents could sit. He walked with his parents through fields, mountains, villages, and forests. He reached the holy rivers Ganga and Yamuna. He bathed his parents in the rivers. Everybody who saw Shravan take his parents on the journey stated that he was a very ideal child. One day, Shravan took his parents on another pilgrimage. His parents stopped him and said they were very thirsty. So, Shravan put them down and underneath the shade of a tree. He took a pot and went to a nearby river to get some water. When he was getting water, King Dasharath was roaming the forests. And King Dasharath, when Bharat was getting water, he thought Bharat was an animal. So he shot an arrow to the direction that the noise was coming. And turns out he accidentally shot Bharat in the chest. Shravan in the chest. And then he ran over, and Shravan was lying on the ground bleeding. Then Shravan said, take this water to my parents because they are very thirsty, and he died while saying that. So King Dashrath, with a heavy heart, took the pot of water and went to his parents and said, and the parents were like, stranger, who are you? Because they heard the footsteps. King Dashrath said, I am the mighty King Dashrath, and he stopped talking. And the father said, keep going. And King Dashrath said, I accidentally shot your child in the chest. The parents were overwhelmed with grief and sorrow, and the father cursed King Dashrath and said, your son will die like this, and they died too, while saying it.
So he made some new Ramayana also.
Krishna is portrayed as an avatar of the Anantashesha, the Naga associated with Lord Vishnu. He was married to Urmila, younger sister of Sita. Lakshmana decided to accompany Rama and Sita to Aranyas and left his wife at Ayodhya. He spent his time protecting Sita and Rama. For the whole 14 years of exile, Lakshmana never slept in and always served to protect Rama and Sita. Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana left for Aranyas on sages Augustus' suggestion. They traveled south towards the banks of river Godavari to stay at Panchavati. The sage Agastya asked Rama to proceed to Panchavati to spend the rest of the days waiting for the great events to come. On the way to Panchavati, they met Jatayu the eagle, the son of Aruna the charioteer, to son, the brother of Sampati, a close friend of their father Dasaratha. Jatayu offers a good guide to them to Panchavati and promises to stay close to them for safety of Sita. At Panchavati, Lakshmana builds a beautiful ashram at the site selected by Rama. When Rama asked Lakshmana to choose a good location for the ashram, Lakshmana declined to do so. The reason he gives that is only he's a servant of Rama who takes orders and executes. Lakshmana is a great example of being an excellent devotee and shows us how true compassion should be.
Very good. Okay, now you are going to finish also, right? So Sita Devi was with Lord Ram. Then Lakshman was really listening. How can they be living without any protection? I should go. This is my duty to protect Lord Ram and Sita Devi. So he also joined Ram and Sita Devi. But here there is something very important you have to really remember. Lakshman, during the entire 14 years, he did not sleep, even for a second. How that happened? The first day, when Lakshman was about to get sleep, that Mitra Devi is coming, and Lakshman said, oh Mitra Devi, I need a favor, because this is the middle of the forest, and I am supposed to be really guarding my elder brother and Sita Devi. How can I afford to sleep? Please do one thing. Take my sleep and then give it to my wife in Ayodhya. See, when Lakshman was also leaving along with Ram, the wife of Lakshman also wanted to join. But Lakshman ordered, no, please do not, because I have an important job to do. If you come, then I will be serving you also. Please do one thing, stay here. And now, in that time, he really told Mitra Devi, please, whatever the sleep I am not getting, let my wife get on behalf of me. His wife was really taking care of sleeping. This is a nice thing, right? Can you say someone, oh, you know what? You don't eat, I will eat for you. How many are going to be really telling? Or you tell, I am not going to eat because all the rest of my life, you eat for me.
Ya Supraja Ramachandra Sita Manohara Raghavendra Kausalya Supraja Ramachandra Sita Manohara Raghavendra Kausalya Supraja Ramachandra Sita Manohara Raghavendra Kausalya Supraja Ramachandra Sita Manohara Raghavendra.
Who is Surpanaga? Surpanaga is the sister of Ravana. Because all these big, all the monster beings, they just travel all over the place. So when she really came to the place where Lord Ram and Lakshmana and Sita Devi was there, and Surpanaga wanted to marry Lord Ram because Lord Ram was very beautiful. But then, because Lakshmana knew all these things, what happened? That's what happened. So he really cut the nose, and Surpanaga was really running. The nose was bleeding. And she goes all the way to Sri Lanka, and then complains to her brother. He was crying, and she was also describing the beauty of Sita Devi. So now there is a problem. See, Surpanaga was attracted by the beauty of Sri Ram, and now Ravana he is really getting so much, and then he really wanted to get Sita Devi.
Surpanka went back to Ravana and told him what had happened. She also told him, Sita is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. She would make a lovely queen. Ravana thought this would be a way to take revenge for what had happened to his sister. Ravana went to his uncle Marichi and told him about Ram. He also told him about his desire to take Sita from the forest, carry her back to Lanka, and make her his queen. His uncle told him, I will become in the form of a golden deer and stand near the hut, and I will lure away Ram. You will do the rest. So the next day, there was a lovely deer appeared at the river in Panchavati. Sita was enchanted by it. Please capture the deer for me, Sita asked Ram. Lakshman looked at the creature carefully. This deer is too beautiful and too perfect. Brother, approach it with caution. And Ram told Lakshman, stay with Sita. No sooner had Ram stepped closer to the deer than it darted into the forest. It took Ram farther and farther away from the hut. Then, deep in the forest, the deer paused. Then Ram stepped closer to it. As Ram stepped closer to it, the deer changed into the form of Marichi. Then Ram heard a voice sound like his very own cry out, Lakshmana, help me! Lakshman, that is your brother. He is calling for help, Sita said. Even though Lakshman said that Ram was fine, Sita insisted. Finally, Lakshmana decided to go, but before he left, he drew a circle at the front of at the entrance of the hut. Sita, he said, if you stay inside the circle, you will remain safe. So, when Lakshman left, Ravana changed himself into the form of a sannyasi clutching a begging bowl. Seeing the poor man, Sita Devi offered him some fruit, but
Ravana noticed that magical circle. He knew that as long as Sita stays inside that circle, she will remain safe. He had to get her out of that. So, when Sita Devi came with the fruit, Ravana said that the only way that he would accept the fruit was if he had Sita Devi come outside of her house to offer it to him. Disregarding Lakshmana's warning, Sita Devi stepped outside of the circle and Ravana kidnapped her shadow. Ravana saw, Jatayu saw Ravana taking Sita Devi to Lanka. He had to he fought against Ravana to get Sita back. But Ravana was too strong, so he cut Jatayu's wing. And Jatayu fell on the ground. And Ravana continued to Lanka with Sita Devi. Lord Rama and Lakshman were searching for Sita Devi. They were even asking the trees and creatures where was Sita. Then they saw Jatayu on the ground. Jatayu told what happened. He died on the lap of Rama while he was saying what happened to Sita.
Hare Krishna. Sabri was born in a hunter's family. From childhood, she never liked killing animals. On the day of her wedding, when she came to know that animals would be sacrificed for her good, she ran away and hid in the forest. And she was in Sage Matanga's ashram. Then, when Sage Matanga was ready to leave his body, she asked for liberation. Sage Matanga said, Sabari, you are fortunate enough to see the Lord in the form of Rama. Then every day Sabari would always get up in the morning and she would do her chores, and every day she would always decorate her house and remove thorns and stones so that her beloved Lord would not get hurt. And she would pick berries and she would even pick berries and taste them and see which one was sour and sweet. One day, Lord Ram and Lakshmana came looking for Sita. She welcomed them inside the place she was living, and she gave them the berries. Lakshmana was shocked that she was given the berries she had already bit into without offering to the Lord. But Ram was very happy that she was giving it in a very sincere mode and lovingly giving it. Then
So after that, she'll be also telling about how they can get help just from Hanuman and all those. So she was the one who was really giving a lot of knowledge.
she told them that they should go to Kishkinda,
Right.
and the king was
Sugriva.
Sugriva was the king and the minister was Hanuman. The messenger of Rama was Hanuman. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Hanuman. Hanuman's father was the wind god. One day he looked up at the east and he saw something red. He thought that the red sun was a fruit and he jumped up trying to get it. He burned his face and fell down. Then he just wanted that and he jumped up again and he tried really hard. Then Indra, the Lord of Heaven, thought that the sun would be caught. So he got one of his weapons and hit Hanuman. Hanuman fell down and got hurt. When his father, the wind god, saw this, he would not move at all. All three wolves did not have any air to breathe.
Now we can mention about the
Okay. So then Sugriv and Ram became friends soon. Then Ram helped Sugriva kill his brother Vali. Then Ram was in great grief that Sita was captured and Sita was kidnapped from Ram in Twas. He told Lakshmana how he feels, so Lakshmana got angry and told Sugriv in return. So Sugriv told all his people, like warriors or something, and to help. So they went all four directions trying to look. Then Ram gave Hanuman the ring and said, go and find Sita Devi, and if you find her, she might be scared and not believe your words. If that happens, show her this ring. We believe mostly on your strength.
Stricken from the kidnapping of his wife, Sita Devi, he was lying dejected beneath the tree. With just his faithful brother Lakshmana to help, Lord Rama had no idea of how he could enter Ravana's demon kingdom and rescue his wife Sita Devi. Lakshmana, who was more alert, saw Hanuman the monkey god in the tree above them. Hanuman the monkey god saw Lord Rama and Lakshmana resting in the tree below them. After learning about Sita Devi's kidnapping, Hanuman goes to all his monkey relatives and asks them to fight on Rama's behalf to save Sita Devi from the demon Ravana. They all agree to help. Soon after, Rama and Lakshmana were invited to a camp, where with the help of Sugriv, they would for sure find some way to Sita Devi. During this meeting, Sugriv told Rama his life story. Sugriv had run away from his kingdom in fear of Bali, his older brother. Bali was powerful. Once Mayavi, a demon, challenged Bali to a fight. Sugriv was told to stay outside a cave for 15 days and not come in. After weeks and days, blood was seen flowing out of the cave. Bali never came out. Sugriv thought Bali was killed. Sugriv then declared himself as king of Kishkinda. A few days after Bali returned, Bali was mad at Sugriv from declaring himself as king. Bali then forcefully took away Sugriv's wife to be queen. Rama promised Sugriv he would help kill Bali. Sugriv then went to Bali and challenged him to a fight. The first time Lord Rama got confused which one was Bali and which one was Sugriv. So the next time Lord Rama gave Sugriv a flower necklace to wear. Lord Rama then shot an arrow from behind the tree and killed Bali.
was big shock. Keep the mic near.
Once upon a time, there was a king named Dashratha. He was longing to have sons, but he didn't have any. He was getting very old, so he needed sons to take over his kingdom. So he asked the sage, and he said he will pray the gods and ask if they could give him sons. Vishnu, meanwhile, was thinking that he can only kill Ravana if only he can become a form of a human. So he prepared paisam and gave it to a messenger. The messenger gave it to Dashratha, and Dashratha divided it into three and gave it to his three wives. The wives soon became pregnant. And later they had four sons. The names of the sons were Ravana, Rama, Lakshmana, Satyavana, and Bharata. The children were growing up fast, and Rama was famous for his bow and arrow. Rama and Lakshmana they always went together everywhere. Later, the sage wanted to perform a scare rite, so he needed Rama to help him. But the king said no, he will come himself with army to defeat the demons. But the sage knew that Rama was a form of Vishnu, so he asked Rama to do it. Rama said yes, and Lakshmana said he will come too, and they went together to defeat the demons. And soon, this demon named she wears a human skull around her neck. A boulder came rolling down from the sky toward Rama, but Rama shot it and it broke into pieces. Later, after he killed Tarika, flowers landed on him and restored the peace to that country. Later, they resumed the journey, and soon they reached King Janaka's palace, and Rama performed to string the bow. Rama broke the bow on accident while stringing it, so he married Sita later, and then they returned to Ayodhya, and King Dashratha died of the sorrow of his own son. And he's been banished for 14 years because Kaikeyi decided on who sent her to agree to banish him and make her own son Bharata become king. So after they left, Rama and Lakshmana, Sita left to forest, and then Bharata came to them and took his sandals and installed it on the throne and said he would only rule at the name of Ram.
That's good story. Yeah. And the sloka, right?
Since Hanuman was cursed that he would forget all of his powers, because when he was little he used to disturb the sages while they were performing holy rites. The sages cursed him and said, "You'll forget about all your powers until someone has reminded you." So Hanuman and his crew were at the border of Sri Lanka, the ocean, and was separating India from Sri Lanka. Everybody was comparing how many yogas they could jump. Then Jambavan said, "Hanuman, you're the only one who can cross the ocean." But Hanuman said, "No, I can't." But then Jambavan was praising Hanuman and all his powers. And Hanuman realized that he was the only one who would be able to jump across ocean. While crossing the ocean, Hanuman faces different challenges. While he's going across the oceans, a monster appears. She says, "Come into my mouth." Hanuman refuses. He tries growing bigger, but her mouth also grows wider. He shrinks, and then he goes inside his mouth and comes back out. He says, "I have pleased your orders. Now may I go?" Hearing Hanuman's plea, she turns into her normal form, the snake maiden, Surasa. She says, "I've been sent by the gods to test you. May your mission be successful." After reaching Lanka, Hanuman finds Sita Devi in the garden of Ravana.
It's called Ashokavana.
Ashokavana.
Hare Krishna. Hanuman gives the ring to Sita from Rama in order to strengthen her confidence. Sita is very happy to see the ring and the arrival of Hanuman in Lanka. Sita expresses her thoughts to Hanuman, saying, "Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva will come to Lanka to destroy Ravana," but Hanuman tells Sita that Rama and Sugriva and the monkeys will cross the ocean and come to Lanka and defeat Ravana and his army. Hanuman tells Sita that he'll take her to Rama, but Sita wants only Rama to come and rescue her. And then Hanuman goes to tell Rama the good news that he found Sita.
Okay. That's all. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good. Good. Thanks for saving some time also.
Taking leave from Sita, Hanuman creates havoc in Lanka by destroying gardens and buildings and killing Ravana's soldiers. He allows himself to be captured and produced before Ravana.
Next slide.
In the court of Ravana, Hanuman was not given a seat, but he made a much higher seat by coiling his own tail.
Like that. Okay. Deep breath. Yeah.
He gives a bold lecture to Ravana to release Sita.
Ravana was singing. Ravana was singing. That's why Ravana was singing.
After hearing Hanuman's words, Ravana orders the execution of Hanuman.
By?
But Vibhishana, Ravana's brother, did not approve the killing of Hanuman. A messenger.
So?
Ravana heard his brother's opinion and changed the punishment.
Now wait. Change the punishment to what? You are given
the next slide.
that's coming. Okay. So she is going to be singing a song.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, Bhajan.
Bhajaramam, Bhajaramam, Bhajare Manasa, Bhajaramam, Bhajaramam,
Rama, during his toddler's slept to Samudra and requested Samudra the ocean god to appear before him. When Samudra did not appear, Rama got angry and said, either crossing of the ocean or death should occur to me today. Rama spent 3 days and 3 nights praying for Samudra to appear. When Samudra did not appear, Rama became angry and started striking the ocean with arrows. Lakshmana and the other celestial sages asked Rama to stop that. Rama warned the ocean that he will die. Rama picked up the Brahma. As soon as he was about to shoot, Samudra appeared before it was folded hands. Samudra suggested that Nala could build a bridge. Nala was the son of Vishwakarma, skilled engineer. Vibhishana and along with 4 of his companions came to Rama and asked for his refuge. Even other leaders like Angad and Jambavan said not to trust him. But no one says that he could trust Vibhishana. He understands the good in Rama and bad in Ravana. Rama accepts Vibhishana onto his side, and Vibhishana explains the strength of Rama. Rama promises to kill Ravana and make Vibhishana the king of Lanka.
Very good. Very good. Wonderful. Very good. Look at that. That was how many pages you have? And some more coming? Okay, good. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, don't use the paper. You talk.
Rama decided to declare war on Ravana. He released his arrow on the northern side of the ocean, which is a holy place called Vimatulya. Nala, a glorious person, son of Vishwakarma, was given the responsibility of design engineering the bridge. He also summoned Varuna, god of the ocean, to cooperate by staying calm while the bridge was in the making. Immediately, thousands of monkeys set about the task of gathering materials for the bridge. It was a stupendous undertaking, but the entire monkey army managed to complete the job in just 5 days. The total length of the bridge was 100 yojanas long. In today's time, 1 yojana is equal to 8 miles. The beautiful and lovely bridge constructed by Nala across the ocean, the abode of alligators, shone brightly like a Milky Way of stars in the sky. Hanuman carried Rama on his shoulders, and Angada carried Lakshmana on his shoulders and flew in the sky. Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva went in the front of the army. The army crossed over Lanka. After crossing the ocean, Rama sent Angada, son of Sugriva, to Ravana as a messenger. Angada went to Ravana's court and delivered Rama's message. He said, "Return Sita with honor or face destruction." Rama became enraged and ordered Angada out of the court immediately. Angada returned with Ravana's message, and the preparation for the war began. The army was divided into a battalion. Angada took up his position with Nila at the center of the formation. Rishabha, along with the multitude of monkeys, took his position at the right side of the army. Gandhamana, the strong and unconquerable, took up his position on the left side of the monkey troops. Rama stood alert in the forefront of the army with Lakshmana. Jambavan, Sushena, and Vegadarshi, the monkey, those two exceedingly wise people,
and the leaders of bears protect the belly portion of the army. Sugriva, the king of monkeys, protected the rear guard of the army. And Varuna, god of the water, protected the western quarter of the earth. Rama said, "Our forces are properly marshaled." Hearing the submission of Sarana, Ravana climbs up the roof of his palace and sees the entire army of monkeys right there. Ravana inquires about the various monkey leaders and Sharana shows him Nila, Angada, Nala, Sweta, Kumuda, Ramba, Saraba, Panasa, Vinata and Kadana. Nila, Angada, Hanuman and the others to storm the four gates and decides to stay on Sevilla mountain with his army. Extraordinary duels arose between the monkeys and demons, who ran up towards each other. Indrajit fought with Angada, Sampati with Pratanga, Hanuman with Jambumali, Vibhishana with the demon Shatrughna, Gaja with Tapana, Nila with Nikumba, Sugriva with Pragasa, Lakshmana with Virupaksha, Agniketu and others with Rama, Vajramsushi with Mainda, Ashanipava with Divivda, Patapana with Nala and Sushena with Vidyunami. Streams of blood flowed from both sides. In a series of hand-to-hand encounters, the valiant monkeys destroyed the strong demons.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Hare Krishna. During the war, Lord Rama's army and Ravana's army were fighting, and Ravana's son Meghanath shot an arrow to hit Lakshmana. Lakshmana fell unconscious. Everyone was panicked, and so a Vaidya, Ayurvedic doctor, was called to cure Lakshmana. But the Vaidya asked for the Sanjeevani herb to cure Lakshmana. So Hanuman was sent to the Parvata, the Himalaya Parvata, to bring the Sanjeevani herb. But he was so confused by seeing all the herbs there, so he brought the whole mountain. And the Vaidya found the Sanjeevani herb and cured Lakshmana. Everyone was so happy, especially Sri Ram. The fighting was going on. It was a fierce fight between Ravana and Sri Ram. There was a technical difficulty, and Rama was trying to kill Ravana, but he had the special boon that he could not be killed. The slain heads and limbs would come back and grow on him. So Rama was trying to kill Ravana, but it was very hard. But then Ravana's own brother Vibhishana, who was Rama's devotee, came and told Rama Ravana's spot, that weak spot, that Ravana could be killed. It was the navel. And Rama started destroying chariots of Ravana, and then Vibhishana was devotee of Lord Rama. And when Ravana kidnapped Sita Devi, he told Ravana to let go of Sita Devi and take her back to Rama. But Ravana refused, and so Vibhishana left Ravana's palace and surrendered to Rama's feet. So that's how he became the Bhakta of Sri Ram. So as Rama found out the secret spot, the weak spot of Ravana, Rama shot an arrow to Ravana's navel and immediately killed him. So that's how Rama won the war. Sitaram Parivar ki jai. Shri Ramachandra Gu Ramachandra Shri Danya Danya Sita Piram Sudhiratma Rupa Rama Shri Ramachandra Gu Ramachandra Bhagavan Shri Danya Danya Sita Piram Sudhiratma Rupa Rama Shri Ramachandra Ramachandra Bhajan Shri Dhanya Sita Piram Sudirat Varupa Rama Shri Ramachandra Raghu Ramachandra Bhajan Shri Dhanya Sita Piram Sudirat Varupa Rama Sudirat Varupa Rama Sudirat Varupa Rama Sudirat Varupa Rama.
Hare Krishna. Rama wanted to make Sita his own again, but he wouldn't accept her if she didn't do Agni Pariksha. Agni Pariksha means fire test. Agni Pariksha is when you have to go through burning flames and come through unharmed. If this happens, it means you have a clean reputation. Sita passed Agni Pariksha, so they went home. Lord Rama, Sita Devi, Lakshmana, Vibhishana, Vanaras all came in Pushpaka Vimana to Ayodhya. Vimana means one that measures the sky as it traverses through it. Indian legends have many Vimanas, but Pushpaka Vimana is the most popular for this reason.
Okay, all right. There you go.
When Ram, Sita, and Lakshmana returned to Ayodhya, it was a very happy time. Every single villager in Ayodhya started putting lights out to celebrate Ram's return. There's another reason, because Ram's going to be king and queen is going to be Sita. And does anybody know what that celebration is?
Very good.
Yes, and that's basically even celebration of lights.
That's it. Wonderful.
People were surprised because Lord Rama was going to go to Kaikeyi first to pay obeisance. Why?
See, she's asking the question now. Why? Yeah, answer. Very but yeah, you are intelligent. You really got that right there. Okay. Yeah, but why? What was the reason behind? Because yeah, she was the one who really banned it. But what was the reason? Yeah. Okay, there are some ones. Yeah, you just choose anyone you want to answer.
Rama couldn't have killed Ravana if Kaikeyi didn't banish him to the forest.
Yeah? You already told the answer to her before? Oh no, okay. No, I'm just kidding.
She heard the whole time practicing, so she said.
Very good job, you know? Very good, very good. Okay, yeah. You want to
I think because if Kaikeyi didn't banish Lord Rama to the forest, Ravana wouldn't be killed. That's why Lord Rama was happy because Kaikeyi banished him to the forest.
Very good, good point. Then once Kaikeyi was, because Kaikeyi was really giving affection more than Lord Ram's mother, Kausalya herself. Then how, because once Rama was really asking, oh mother, I want to ask you one favor. I cannot ask anyone, only you can do it. When time will come, please banish me to really go to forest. That was the one he really came to. Okay. So that's why he really came. Lord Ram, he loves Kaikeyi much more than Kausalya. This is why. When he returned back, she did not even go to his own mother to really give the obeisance. First Kaikeyi. See, look at our, see, if you see all these histories, there is nothing to compare. And that big celebration was where? Diwali. Now we have Yashika, who is going to tell you about some story which really happened after this coronation. Then also you have your
At Lord Rama's coronation, gifts were given to all. So he gave the Brahmanas 100,000 horses and cows and bulls and 30 cores of gold coins. He gave Sugriva a beautiful chaplet studded with many gems. He gave Angada a beautiful bracelet worn on the upper arm. He gave Sita Devi a precious pearl necklace that was embedded with superior gems. Wanting to repay Hanuman for his service, Sita Devi gave the precious pearl necklace to Hanuman. Hanuman started breaking and biting the pearls. The ministers in the hall were astonished by the queer act of Hanuman. Sita Devi asked Hanuman why he was breaking the precious pearl. Hanuman said, "I do not wear anything devoid of Lord Ram. I'm looking to see in which pearls he is inside, but I cannot find him." One of the ministers in the hall remarked, "You are wearing your body. Prove to us your body has Lord Ram." So Hanuman tore open his chest to show Lord Rama and Sita Devi seated inside his heart.
You want the diagram? Okay.
Shri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajan Karana Bhava Bhayadarunam Lochana Kanja Mukakara Kanja Pada Kandarunam Shri Ramachandra Kripalu Bhajan Karana Bhava
Sitaram, 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 Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Sitaram, 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 Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Sitaram, 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 Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Sitaram, 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 Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam.